Here I was thinking it'd be a good idea to just wake up and get straight into a YouTube video, but now I've got giant bags under my eyes. Anyway, I'm sorry about the state of me, but I am back on the YouTube grind, so just be grateful for that. The theme of today's video is 4 essential keys to maximize your results as either a hybrid athlete yourself or if you're coaching hybrids. Hybrid training is a pretty open-ended term at the end of the day, so this isn't just for people who are trying to get more jacked or stronger and trying to run longer distances. You could apply this to anyone who's trying to improve multiple qualities simultaneously. Just a couple of quick reminders before we get into the video. We have just uploaded a fresh month of training to the Team Training app. You can get a free week of that down below if you're interested in trying out my style of programming. And we've also got a link to my GPP Level 1 course, which is basically a detailed course on my complete training model, as well as you get ongoing mentorship for me. So check that out if you're interested down below. Now let's get into the meat of the video. It's funny, I was actually on Jonathan Warren's podcast. We did a little hybrid roundtable with myself and Alec Blennis yesterday, and he raised a really good point that like a lot of these things that we discuss as, really useful concepts for maximizing results in hybrid training. Ultimately, they're just good training principles. It's just that when you're trying to improve multiple qualities simultaneously, it's not that the concepts or the principles really change that much. You're just trying to thread like a narrower needle, or there's just a little bit less room for error. Or I think, as Alex put it, all of a sudden your slightly stupid training decisions become really stupid training decisions. I thought that was really eloquent. So just another really good reminder, I guess, that even if you're not trying to improve multiple qualities at once, there's still going to be a ton of value for you in this video. And I guess it sort of just goes back to that idea that good coaching is good coaching at the end of the day. Okay, tip number 1 for improving your hybrid results is implement some form of auto-regulation within your programming. So this applies to not just the strength training side. I know RPE-based strength training is incredibly popular, especially in my bubble these days. But then all of a sudden, when these meatheads decide to get into a bit of running in tandem with their lifting, all of a sudden their sense of self-efficacy or self-awareness just goes out the window, and they outsource all their training decisions to either a heart rate monitor or some sort of wearable device. One of my favorite things about the implementation of auto-regulation with all my clients is it develops the most important coaching quality of them all, which is self-awareness, especially when you're introducing a new training stimulus. So when you're getting into running on top of your lifting or adding lifting into your running goals, the body can just respond somewhat unpredictably. And so when you're getting all these unpredictable training responses, or you just have no idea how tired your legs are going to feel the next day after your big run or after your strength training, at the end of the day, when you're introducing new training stresses, like your coach is not some all-knowing predictive wizard that's going to know exactly what weights you're going to be ready to lift after a hard run, or what level of fitness you're going to wake up with the day after a hard leg session. Auto-regulation just encourages more thoughtful training at the end of the day. Rather than just like mindlessly doing whatever's written down on the program, you have to look and be like, okay, I'm meant to be lifting at RPE 8. How good do I actually feel today? And sort of just thinking about that and processing that during your warm-up sets or during your shakeout part of your run. When you're just mindlessly following a rigid program, that's when a lot of these hybrids run into errors such as overtraining or just getting injured because they're just showing up and hitting these arbitrary numbers in the gym or arbitrary times out on the track without actually thinking how their body is doing. And this goes both ways. I think a lot of the time when people talk about auto-regulation, what comes up is like, oh yeah, when you're having the worst day of your life, you can still get a really good training stimulus. But it's also for when you're having the best day of your life. So maybe you actually wake up feeling amazing after your long run and you can actually go hit a bigger squat than what your coach thought. And you wouldn't be able to do that without auto-regulation. Or the same goes for your runs. Maybe your paces could have been a little bit higher because you're actually feeling better than what your coach could have predicted. So auto-regulation, it has 3 really good impacts. It leads to better bad days, even better good days, and it also develops a sense of self-awareness in your athletes so they're less annoying to coach. As much as we are trying to develop personal responsibility through this auto-regulation process, it's something that can be developed as a coach. So you can work with your coach, get feedback on some of the training decisions that you have been making. Like I said, we're just looking to develop this sense of self-awareness over time. It's a two-way street that ends up paying dividends for both the coach and the athlete. Who just wants to be spoon-fed? We are trying to develop a little bit of self-efficacy at the end of the day. The next thing that we're going to have to do with our hybrid program to maximize results is the consolidation of some of our stresses. So in the age of optimal training, whether you're lifting weights or doing your running, I think a lot of people to get too caught up in this idea of, oh, I always need fresh legs when I run, or, oh no, I don't want to do a big squat session after my longer run because then my numbers are going to be a little bit lower. And while there's something to be said for localized or specific fatigue from training either of these qualities, at the end of the day, sometimes we're just going to have to run on tired legs, or you're going to have to lift on tired legs after a big run, and you can still get a really great training effect. And the trap you fall into when you try to keep your big runs and your big lifting sessions too far apart from one another, thinking that you're optimizing both of those things, is you just end up where you're training kind of hard every single day of the week. And I'm not trying to Charlie Francis pill you guys where you have to run this specific high-low model model because I think sometimes you can go too far with the consolidation of stresses as well, and then you do legitimately take away from some of your training intensity or some of your training output. But when there's not enough consolidation of stresses, and when you're too afraid of running or lifting with tired legs or a little bit of fatigue, it just sort of ends up this death by 1,000 cuts scenario where you've just got too many training days that are a little bit too intense, and you never have any easy training days, which are just as important in my opinion. And what this consolidation of stresses actually allows you to do, which is the next point on my list, is it gives you space throughout the microcycle for more complete days of rest. So it's really easy if you're lifting 4 times a week and running 3 times a week to just train 7 days a week. And I really do think that there's something to be said for more complete days of rest. And then on those sessions where you do have a big run and a bit of a big lifting session, you're actually going to be able to bounce back and recover from those a lot better than you think. I'm absolutely shocked and appalled at the amount of high rocks and hybrid athletes that I consult for that literally have no complete days of rest in their program. Even just doing things like zone 2 every single day of the week. It's completely unnecessary, and quite frankly, it's a bad program if you can't find space for at least 1 full day of rest in your programming. I think it's optimal to have at least 2 complete days of rest in your program. And I'm not saying to be a complete slug on these days. There is a sweet spot for this. If you've been following my channel for a decent amount of time, I've actually made this mistake with my Sundays where, you know, I'm a big advocate for just living an active lifestyle and having a decently high step count. But I have absolutely tanked some of my Monday sessions just because I've been too much of a slug on the couch on my rest days. So rest day just means no programmed exercise. Still nice to get up off the couch, go for a couple of walks around the block or go for a walk along the beach, catch up with a mate or something like that. Being a complete rest day does not mean being an absolute slug, but it does mean no programmed exercise. So you may think that you're optimizing things by alternating between running and lifting on alternate days, especially like for your lower body strength, but then it just means that you never have fresh legs. Whereas I promise you will feel like your legs are fresher with more complete days of rest, especially for the lower body. So lower body strength sessions on your big run days, not as suboptimal as some people might make it out to be. Could even be optimal. You just see so many hybrid athletes where they're paying for sports massage, all these special supplements, they're going to the recovery bar, doing their ice bath and sauna every single week. All of those things are literally just pissing in the wind compared to a complete day of rest. I'm telling you. You could be spending all that money that you're spending on expensive recovery modalities on just hiring a better coach or paying for GPP level 1. And in my opinion, the most underrated thing that you can do as a hybrid athlete is just really dial in on your nutrition and your body composition. And now I want to be clear with this. I'm not saying that you should just starve yourself or crash diet until you're shredded. You need to be fueling for your training, but there's this sweet spot between fueling adequately for your training, but then also not carrying too much unnecessary body fat. Additional weight is just so terrible for the impact you absorb when you're running, which obviously like heavy runners, you can adapt to it over time. But just because it's possible to adapt to running at heavier body weights doesn't make it any easier. Your running will be so much easier when you're at a lower body weight. Again, you're just absorbing less impact every single stride and you'll just be faster. And this is somewhat acknowledged in the running community. I mean, you don't really see too many heavy runners just for the sake of it, but I think this just doesn't get enough credit for what it does for the lifting side of things. When you have a look at the most elite powerlifters, I think there's this perception that body composition doesn't matter for your strength to body weight ratio, but it absolutely does. Outside of your gut hitting your quads in the bottom of a squat, additional fat is not helping you lift any heavier. It's not making your lifts seem more impressive to people on the internet. Getting your body fat definitely under 20% and ideally closer to sort of the 15% side of things is just going to do so much for your strength to body weight ratio, and it's so easy to get light people into running. As much as it's really inspiring to see people like Alex Viada, or who's a really big jacked hybrid, I think Nick Bear's pretty heavy. It's amazing to see people like that. I'm not saying that you can't adapt to running at higher speeds with a higher body weight. These guys are extreme outliers at the end of the day. You are going to have such an easier time tanking huge mileage and getting a lot quicker when you're just weighing at a lighter body weight. All right, so just to wrap up, quick summary: implement some form of auto-regulation, consolidate some of your stresses. It's okay to run or lift on tired legs. Try to program at least 2 complete days of rest. And if you can't find space for that, your programming is probably stupid. And try to thread that needle where you're still fueling really well for your training sessions, but you are dialing in on that body composition, and that is going to maximize your hybrid results. If you like the way I discuss training on this channel and you want to dive a little bit deeper, I highly recommend you sign up for GPP level 1. And if you want me to take care of your training, check out some of our team options down below. We've got 3-day split, 5-day split, and we've also got specialized add-on programs, whether you want to work on your 5K time, your Olympic lifts, get a little bit faster on your sprints, or work on your bench or your squat. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in a couple of days with another.